everybody, it's spring and it's April 1st and I'm so excited. I've been working in my garden. I'm getting all kinds of stuff done. I'm starting to fill up these new tubs, and what I do with the new tubs is on the bottom, I use leaves, and I also put in about a week's supply of toilet paper rolls. Thank you. You know, like a week's supply of toilet paper rolls. And that's good, you know, the carbon's really good. That's not, oh, there it is. We love eating our greens. We watch John Kohler and he says 2 pounds a day. We don't really eat 2 pounds a day, but we do eat a lot of greens. And it's really good for the worms, all those toilet paper rolls. Oh, and let's do the garden tour. Come on. Well, here we go on the garden tour, April 1st, 2019. We are finally in spring. The weather has been beautiful. And now I think starting in the next 2 weeks, you're going to start to see changes in our garden. I already see the plants that are already established taking off, like that tomato plant over there and the dinosaur kale. But I haven't planted anything new here. I'm just starting to set up. So we're going to walk through so we don't do this really slow. But it's just been such a beautiful morning. I decided to do this first thing in the morning. I hear birds singing. And it has just been beautiful this morning. There's no gardeners going in the neighborhood. There's no street racers or motorcycles. And I thought, you know, let's do it now. And I've been hearing the Amazons. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh my gosh, I think they're up in the palm tree. Let's take a look. I've got to stop. I've got to stop. They've been staying around here in the area, and I think they're breaking off now into pairs. There's hundreds of them. And yes. Let's check out the palm tree. This is such a treat. Oh my gosh. There's been like 2 pairs, I think, flying around, and they've been checking out the palm tree and checking everything out. And they've been flying around in the morning, but they have not come into my garden before like they did just now. That is amazing. Those are red-headed Amazons, you know, also known as Mexican redheads. And what they're doing is, well, they're probably looking around to see if there's anything to eat, as well as looking for nesting sites right now. That's what they're looking for, is nesting sites. Listen to the birds. Isn't it beautiful? The birds are singing, and you don't hear anything but me and the birds. If you didn't hear me, you'd hear just the birds. That is amazing. All right, I'm going to have to leave them because this is just so cool. But let's keep going on the garden tour. That is a special treat for me. All right. The bricks here, I'm going to be changing this. I hope to get a video while I change it. I'm going to maybe try and experiment with this. I want to get rid of those cages to keep the rabbits out. Got sorrel and the green onions are coming out. Those are walking onions. Want to get more of that going, but get these wire tops off and use that in the pots that I have a lot of. Right now that's got soil from the swimming pools that Gary moved. He kept my soil that was in there. This is doing really good. I think you've seen this before. Let me take the cover off. Sorry. That is the brownberry cuttings that I put in there, and all I really want is hopefully one will make it, and nothing else is really planted. This is a little garlic chive I brought out. You probably remember. It's in a paper cup, and it was real little. It's starting to take off and get new growth. I leave the paper cups. There's no bottoms on them, so they're going to set root, go straight down. But in the meantime, when I water this plant, let me cut and cover it. When I water this little plant, it's getting full water. See, it's wet in there. A little dry on the outside, but wet in there. So I love my paper cups. Let's see, not much is going on. There is the peppermint. So that is... strawberry mint. I gotta figure out a place for that. But this is peppermint in here, one of Gary's favorites and mine. I'm gonna have peppermint in here. It's kind of a triple decker to give more room for the peppermint to grow. And I want to get some more peppermint in the yard growing. Now I just love the peppermint. Okay, let's look at the table here. I haven't planted the ginger. When I get the ginger out, I'm going to take you with me so you can watch me put all the ginger in, because this is all for ginger and turmeric here. But back there is my stevia, and look at it. I think you saw it 2 weeks ago. It was nothing. Look at this. Look how big the leaves are. And Gary's been using it in his tea every day, he told me. Look at that. So they're doing really good. And I've got some seeds I planted. I didn't even realize it was going to grow, and I didn't bring it out here. So I'll have it out here in 2 weeks. I'm trying to figure out where to put it. That's a tea plant a friend of mine went and bought. He bought it on TV. And he was excited. He bought a few of them and they died. And he told me this is the last one and it's dying. He said, would you take it? And I said, yeah, I'll take it. So it's got new growth starting on it. And I left it in the pot because they're very temperamental here. And the pot is in this pot so we can feed back and forth. And you know, there's worms in here. When I dig around, the earthworms have produced in there. And what's really good, let me show you real quick. Okay, I don't have anything. Let's see if I have, let's say I was taking a brown leaf off of a kale or something. This is what I do all the time. I just take leaves, move the soil over, push the leaves in, and cover it. That leaf or whatever you put in there, it could be kitchen scraps and stuff, the earthworms will feed on that. All the microbes will feed on that. I do that all the time. Okay, let's go into the main garden now. And here we go. Again, you're not going to see new changes as far as new plants because I have not bought any new plants yet. You know, I can't get rid of him and he is tame. There's nothing I can do with him. He comes every day now. He's a regular. I think Gary's got a name for him. I can't remember his name. But I can go right up to that squirrel. He's a tree squirrel. And he comes and feeds with the birds and everybody gets along. Everybody gets along. But anyways, this is the brownberry tomato plants. It all has to be taken out. It's all dead. It all died, but I got cuttings off of it. So that is a project that I will be doing hopefully this week. And then all through here too, I actually went back through some of my old videos, not that old, maybe 2-3 years old, and I got videos of when the dinosaur kale was really little, and I thought it really looked cool. It does look cool. This has been really, it's had its toll because the birds sit here and they chew the tips off. See what they do? And the reason they chew the tips off is because that's the best tasting part of the plant. But I think they're not going to be doing it as much because a lot of their native plants that they really want to eat are growing back now. So I'm going to trim a lot of this back. See, it's so poorly damaged there. It just broke because it's so heavy. I'm going to trim it back, but I'm not taking it out. I'm definitely not taking it out. This has got a massive trunk to it. I'm just going to do a little more control when I get some time. And I really don't want to just cut it off and compost it all because every single piece would be another plant. Look how beautiful it is. So I'm going to do this slowly and bring it back. I want my garden more manageable, but I still like my garden more like a food forest where I don't have to plant if I don't want to. And of course, this is the compost bin, and look at that. The first squash, I threw some squash away that was, you know, I had an old squash. And I've got tomatoes, and there probably is some peppers. I had some pepper seeds that I thought were no good I threw in there, but look at that. First squash came up, and it's growing straight in there, no soil yet. So that's the first squash. I planted some other squash seeds. Still, the ones I planted have not come up. So it's not quite warm enough at night for the squash seeds. So when they do come up, they come up. I probably will end up moving the papayas unless Gary takes them somewhere. I really don't want them here because they get so big and I don't need them in my yard, so I'll see what happens there. All the kale is still doing beautiful, and don't forget those yellow leaves. See, these golden leaves, that's gold. Just break it off and shove it in a pot and push it down and cover it with soil, and that's like plant food for your plants. This tomato is still doing really good. We've been picking tomatoes, and so has the squirrel. So I've got to get to them and cover them up when I'm waiting for them so they don't get them, the squirrels, because they do like their tomatoes. Strawberry tower. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, if I'm going to keep that here or move it or do something else. So we'll see what happens. There's just so much. We'll see what happens as the year goes on, because I've got ideas. But the strawberries are coming back from last year. So I'll see what happens as the year goes on, because I can change things at the drop of a hat if I want to. Of course, oh, that's the purple. That's purple sprouting broccoli, which still has not grown any broccoli. I have a feeling that the seeds were hybrid from another plant, probably collard or something, and it grew into this massive tree. Look at the trunk. But it never threw anything. It hasn't gone to seed yet. Once it goes to seed, then I would know exactly what it is. But right now I don't. So it's okay. We use it in our green drinks. I use it for stir fry. I use it for eating, chopping up for tacos. It's still good to eat. My sprouting broccoli, no real leaves on it right now because it's all going to seed. And the birds, of course, have been eating, and the bees are back. Haven't seen a lot of bees. Their bees are showing up now because spring's here. If I trim that back and got all the seed heads off, the leaves would become really big. But I'm just leaving it. Right now I'm leaving it. It doesn't matter. I've got enough food to eat. It's not like I don't have enough. But that's all sprouting broccoli. And that's just a few plants in there that I planted. I guess it's 3 years now. Have to do a Throwback Thursday on that. And it's just massive. I mean, look at the branches on that. Now, I would like to cut this back, but see? All the bird droppings in there. The birds use this for a perch. They feel protected in it because it's like a bush. They have a little bit they can eat. So, you know, I really don't want to cut it yet. Just little by little as I go. I'll do little by little. Oh, I forgot to show the other thing. Hold on. Let's go back. This is the cutting that I did of the purple kale. It's coming really good. We'll look more at it another time. I haven't really done anything. That's old celery. This is up against the house here. Another strawberry thing I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with it. And of course, nothing's been done here. Nothing's been groomed. The mushroom plant doesn't like it when it's so cold, but it's starting to make a comeback now. See? It loses a lot of its leaves, but as soon as the weather warms up, they come back. And this is a really good plant to eat. Add it to salad and stir fry, anything, because it has a very mushroom-like taste. I really like it. And of course, here's this kale. And this is a purple curly kale, I guess, or blue, whatever they call it, like a Russian kale. This is gorgeous, and this just keeps going. Look at the size of the trunk. So I'll kind of stake that up and add some more leaves from the garden and fix this up. Okay, and that's again a sprouting broccoli. It was growing on my deck and I threw it here, I think a year or two ago. And let's see, let's keep going back where we were. And again, all the colored is growing through here. Oh, wait. This has been an amazing morning. Look at the mustard plant up there. I see a coyote. Hold on. Look at this. What a morning. And it's quiet. I wonder if that's what it is. It's so quiet. All you do hear is the occasional planes going by. But it's like no gardeners, no traffic. Well, there's no traffic up here. I mean, there's people. It's the kids. The kids are out of school and they get their dirt bikes out and they're going dirt biking and stuff. But look at that. So we have a coyote passing through this morning. Oh my goodness. We'll just stay over there. But the rabbits, they've been feeding on the hillside as well because they have natural food now. So they don't, here's the birds. Isn't that beautiful? They don't have to feed that much in my garden because all their natural habitat is coming back. So this is going to be beautiful. So they'll be leaving my garden alone a little. Of course, there's favorite stuff. But they will be coming back in here periodically, especially in the summer when all that dries up. That's when they're going to come back. All right, well, he's gone through the mustard now. He's somewhere on the other side, so we'll just keep going. Here is the dazzling blue kale. Isn't it? I did a Throwback Thursday on that. It's not quite 6 feet, but it's almost there. It's going to be 6 feet real soon. And that's where I composted in place under there, and it does good. I really should dig another hole and compost some more in there. Throw kitchen scraps. And again, more sprouting broccoli through here. And then there's that curry plant. I'm going to trim the curry plant back and do something else in here. I'm not cutting it out. We don't use it, we don't eat it, but it's still an herb, and I may find a use for it, so I am going to just trim it back a little bit. Probably put another container in there and bring another plant up to grow. This had tomatoes for 2 years in there, but I cleared out all the tomatoes finally. They were gone. And then mint is all over the ground. Oh, this is oregano. I've got oregano in different places. And again, more walking onions are starting to come back and look really, really good. And yes, that's spearmint that's popping through the wood chips. And that's okay. I know you're not supposed to put mint on the ground, but I do because we use a lot of mint, more in the summer. Let me tell you something, I can see my skin looks so smooth and beautiful all summer because I drink a lot of mint. And in the winter, when it gets cold, I don't seem to drink enough. Shame on me. Okay, look at this. It's going to seed. Look at this. This is my field of collard, one of them. And it's producing flower. It's going to produce flowers. Flowers haven't quite opened yet. There is a little bit of aphis on it. See the aphids? But I could either take a hose and just blast it off because we do not spray anything in our garden, or I can leave it because you would think it'd be all over, and what the birds do is they'll come and they'll eat it. So I could do both, either way. If you didn't have a hose where you were, let's say, gardening, you could just take a little bit of soapy water, put a couple drops of dish soap in some water and just put it on your hands, put it on there, and that'll get rid of them because they breathe through their skin and that would suffocate them and they would just disappear. A lot of times I just take a hose, blast it off with a hose, and they're gone. But here I really don't have to worry that much because I have seen insects on there. I've gone back later in the day to get rid of them and they're gone because the birds have already come and wiped them off. So that's just, there's so many different ways of getting rid of them without pesticides. But you know what? If you feel you have to use something, you do what you have to do. It's your garden, and that's what I always say. You do what you want to do. Here is parsley. It's growing up against the water fountain there. And let me swing over here. Well, I still think this is a hybrid between a collard, because the leaves are kind of round, and this came up from seed. And my sprouting broccoli, but I leaned it up. I put a rock there in a pot to give it a more stability to stay straight. So I'm not walking into it anymore, see? Because I'm starting to work in the garden and clean up a little bit. I got to get rid of all these pots here. And now I can trim it back and leave it there, or I could take it out. And a collard that came up from seed too, celery, sweet potato. I think that's a turnip. Probably a bean because I throw beans around, and a little tomato plant that I think I threw a cutting in there. And that's still, let me see. I was going to say what's in here. It still has walking onion in there. And lemon balm, which I sat the pot in here. See? I bought it, sat it, and it set root. So when I decide where I want to put it, it's going to rip the roots off underneath. It'll cause it to droop a little, but it'll come back. So we'll see. But look how beautiful. With the weather warming up, it's coming out really nice. All the green, beautiful leaves. Sweet potato, I don't want that sweet potato. So either Gary takes it or I'll see what's underneath and go from there. And again in here, sweet potato came up from the kitchen scraps. Walking onions, and there's some parsley. Like I said, I have not cleaned up anything in here. So there's a lot, this is an old beans, there's a lot that really needs to be done. It's just a bean that died back, and I'll be composting all that. You don't throw that away. Chocolate mint, I had this really not growing as beautiful as it is now, but it grew really nice all winter. So periodically I would come out here and pick chocolate mint, strawberry mint. And then that pot had a squash in it last year, so I'll see what I'm going to do here. Still not sure. Sage, I believe, back there. And then, of course, celery. All right, let's look over here. Red vein sorrel. This is gorgeous. Look at that. Just beautiful. And then back here is a tree collard, which is kind of leaned all over. This is something I'm going to explain in a video, what I've done here on the poles. So I'll get back to that. But that is a dazzling blue kale that's kind of taken off everywhere, and I want to keep it. People say, do you take out your kale? I don't take out my kale unless it looks really, really bad or it got damaged or something. You don't have to take out your kale. Kale will grow like a tree. It looks like a palm tree when you let it grow tall. And it's beautiful. So it's very ornamental in the garden as well as edible. You use the bottom leaves. Of course, you can always grab some of the tender, smaller leaves if you were making a salad. But generally, you use the bottom leaves of the kale, and then it will just keep getting taller and taller, and it will grow side shoots as well. And the side shoots can be left and harvested to eat, or you can clip the side shoots off and you can plant them. It roots really, really easy. So, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This is a sight to see. There's a tree back there, no leaves. That is amazing. 3 beautiful birds are sitting in that. That's an Amazon. The red-headed Amazons have been flying around here. A scrub jay and a hooded oriole. Isn't that gorgeous? All 3. Look at the contrast. Green blue and yellow. And of course, the Amazon's got red on its head too. I love that. A rainbow in the sky. What a treat. Okay, let's do the garden. I'll be doing this all day, looking at animals. And I don't know if you all want to see this. You want to see the garden, so let's do the garden. The tomato plant back there is a brown berry. It dropped behind the wall, and it's doing quite well, and I'm not sure if I'll keep it or not, because I might put new tomato plants back there. As you can see, something got a tomato. And yes, it could have been a rat, it could have been a squirrel, not a rabbit. Generally not a rabbit on that. It could have even been a bird, but probably a squirrel. I've seen the squirrels pull the tomatoes off. I mean, really pull them off and eat them. So, whatever. You know, let them take a few. It doesn't bother me. We have so many. That's a tree collard. But I'll see what happens. I may trim it back, or I might take it out, or I may leave it. I'll see when I get back there. I want to be able to walk around my garden, because sometimes it turns into such a jungle I can't get through and get the food that I want, and that's why the other animals get it. And there's the eggplant. They're coming back and starting to grow eggplant. So we'll see what happens, you know, little by little. April 1st, I've got so much time. We here can garden in Southern California well into November. We don't get cold until sometime, let's say in November or December. It depends on the year. And then generally the coldest months for us is usually December and January, but this year was very different. So I don't know what we'll bring, you know, next year as far as weather, so time will tell. But you know what? Everything pretty much made it, I think. A lot of things didn't, but a lot of things did. Most did. This is a giant tree collard. This thing is like 7 feet, 8 feet tall now. And I've been taking pieces off, including the piece in the front yard. I had let them get too big, which I see I've done here too. If you're going to plant them, you want to really get smaller pieces to plant. Like this is perfect here, but you could do them in any size. I took that big piece that broke off in the front yard, and it's going to struggle for a while. It will look like it's not doing anything. As long as it doesn't die, it doesn't matter. Because the bigger the piece, the more roots it's got to set before it takes off. So if you get a small piece, it only has to set a small amount of roots, and then bam, it starts to grow. So keep that in mind when you're doing cuttings. That's why some people say smaller is better. That's because it needs less roots. And if it needs less roots, it will grow quicker. It will set root quicker. But if you're not in any hurry, or you don't have a choice, like mine broke off, let it sit. If it sits for 6 months until it starts to grow, who cares? I don't care. I've got other things growing. All right, this is the tomato that made it through all winter beautifully. What was the name of this tomato? Of course, I should know that. The Sun Gold. This is the Sun Gold, and this is such a good tomato. And look at, it's already full of flowers. And of course, we've been picking the tomatoes all winter on this one. So this is a keeper. I definitely got to get more of these growing. And then of course, there's the tower. It kind of sunk a little bit, but I'm just going to add to the tower and probably leave a lot what's in here because it's so established. This is a purple sprouting broccoli. One of those purples I planted. I planted what, 4 or 5 of them. And I mean, though it's growing nice and it's got beautiful, edible, good tasting leaves, I have yet to see any sprouting broccoli. So I'm not pulling it out because it's edible. So I wouldn't care about pulling it out. I just think possibly, it's just a possibility, either that or it's taking its time. It might have hybridized. And when the seeds were collected, of course, they would not know that. That's why you get from people that grow only one specific type in the groups. So, oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I've never seen that before. I don't know if they're courting. This has been an amazing morning. This is all real. This is not staged. This is not fixed up. You know, I didn't get in there and put in video clips. This is real this morning. This is unreal. First the coyote goes by there. And obviously, Gary's got wood and stuff piled around so the rabbits can hide in there when they hear the coyotes. Isn't that amazing? This is kind of catty corner from Gary's garden. Look at this. I've got the hummingbirds flying around me too. I don't know if that's a courtship. I think they took off. I don't know if, oh, they're up on the hillside now where the coyote was. I see them both. I don't know if that's a rabbit courtship or if I don't think they were fighting because they really weren't fighting. This has been an amazing morning. That's why I thought I've got to grab the camera and come out here. It's just beautiful. And I wish you had smell-o-vision because these citrus trees are smelling so good. Look at the flowers, full of bees. And the fragrance, I'm standing here, I feel like I'm just smelling sugar. It is unreal how this smells. But this has been amazing. First I got the Amazons coming through. And then you got the Amazons. The scrub jays are here all the time. And they love their peanuts now. I started giving them peanuts. You know they will follow me and look in the kitchen window because they want peanuts. And then you got the coyote that had just gone through all that mustard. And then the coyote went on his way. And then you got the rabbits courting and courting. I see mockingbird. Oh no, there's still more birds. And I think there's still rabbits. Let's do the garden tour. We'll end up getting 100 thumbs down because people aren't interested in this. And they go, we don't want to see the animals. We want to see the garden. So I try to make everybody happy. But you know what? As a little girl, nature's been my favorite thing. I had a pet mouse. My dad was like, you have a what? I must have been like 4 or 5. I said, he didn't look like he was feeling well, so I took him in. Where's that mouse? My dad said, you can't be playing with the mouse. I ran and let it go. I was really little then, but oh my gosh, I loved all animals from a little kid. That's just been, nature's been the love of my life. Even as a little kid, I had a garden. Just amazing. Anyways, let's get back to this. Here is the other collared field. This is that one single plant that has snaked itself through the garden. And though it is in my way as I walk back and forth, because I had Gary put my swing here, I don't care. So right now I'm going to leave it. I've been kind of staking it up. See, I put a little ceramic type shoe under that, and it holds this up nice and straight. And you could think about how you want to stake things up. It doesn't always have to be a stake. So that little shoe down there is holding it up because it's like a rock. Then I've got a rock holding up the other one, so I've kind of straightened it out that way. And the rabbits sit in here and they eat the bottom parts, which is fine. And, you know, I mean, technically, I know people are going, why aren't you pulling that out and growing more? I don't need to. Look at this. I got a yard full of stuff. And I don't need to pull out everything. Oh, look at the hummingbird taking a bath. Okay, I'm starting to look at all the birds in the garden. I can't believe how many birds. There's going to be more and more birds. Oh, let's walk over here. Okay, I digress and I forgot what I was talking about. But anyways, I like growing my yard because I can, like a jungle. Now, I've got so many videos that I want to put together because I've had so many questions that I cannot get to. I literally get on and they'll be telling me there's hundreds of comments and questions. And what I do is I try to go to one video and start from the bottom to make sure I don't miss anybody. But I don't get to everything. But there are people that saying, I can't do this. I can't do it. I've been trying to plant in my yard and a year later, everything's dead. I think I may know why. And that's why I want to talk about that on another video. There are some people that no matter what cannot plant in the ground. And there are some people that can only plant in the ground. There's all these different things. So little by little as the spring goes on and summer goes on, I hope to get to as much and everything as I possibly can. Okay, something's going on here. Hold on. Okay, thank goodness it was not a National Geographic moment. It was a squirrel jumping around making noise. Isn't that beautiful? This is what's in our yard. Oh my gosh. I would have been seventh heaven if I was a kid. I was raised in LA and the only thing I could find were mice. Anyways, I wanted to come over here and show you my dazzling blue kale. This made it in this container. A lot of the other little plants didn't make it. I don't know, there might have been parsley and different things in here, but the dazzling blue kale made it. The rabbits started to chew on it, so I threw some tulle around it. See what they did? See the damage? So they won't chew on the tulle. But now look at it. By just wrapping a little bit of this tulle, it is now going to seed. Look at that. Springtime, it went to seed, but it made it all winter. As soon as I saw the damage on both of them, there's two of them in there, I wrapped it with tulle and that worked. So let me get out of here. Hold on. Step around. Don't want to break my neck. Garlic chives coming up everywhere because they drop their seeds and they'll just come up. They'll come up in the ground, they'll come up in your pots, and they taste so good. Another strawberry tower, and we've been getting strawberries. I brought a big strawberry in the other day and I split it with Gary. So they're just starting. And then I'm going to have to see what happens to the Moringa. Gary said he saw leaves starting. I do not, so we'll have to see what happens to this one. If it didn't make it through the winter, which I believe it did because of the branches are still green, we'll just take it down, plant another one, but there's 2 trees there. It might be just taking its time. Some of the other Moringas are already coming back. The papayas, we should be having papaya soon. Gary's all excited because he's got ideas of what he's going to do with this. He said, you're throwing side shoots. A lot of this can come off now. I left the leaves falling for the winter just so it would protect the plant, but it does not need it now. So we'll see what happens. But he's been looking at the side shoots. There's another one. He should just take that. You know, it looks like it set a couple fruit up there. I didn't think it did, but it's got green fruit on the second one. That is the one I was debating once if I should take it out, but it could upset the whole balance of what's going on here. So I left it. See the bottom? It came up in my compost in place in the pot. I had a pot. I did not plant this papaya here. It came up from the way I compost in place because I have cold compost only. My compost is alive. So that's why there's still a lot of little trees there, but we did cut the bottom so it has set root into the ground, the actual ground now. So it has left the container and it's got all these papayas, and Gary's real excited because this is not the same papayas we're growing over there. It's a different papaya. So we'll see what happens real soon. You can start to trim this back, and I do compost all the leaves from the papaya back in the compost container where it's growing. That's important. It seems to really like that. Okay, let me swing over here. So much to do here. So much to do. I've got parsley coming up. That's kind of a flat leaf parsley. And I think there's some hybrids in there, parsley and celery. And they will hybridize and end up with a cross. And then this really needs to be cleaned up. There's really nothing's been done. Now this is another Moringa. This is the one up against the house. Now this one is making a big comeback. See the leaves? So this one should really start taking off, and I'll have to figure out if I'm going to chop it so it doesn't grow into the roof. I haven't decided yet. Or, I'm bouncing you guys around, I know. Or if I am going to pull it away from the house, side of the house. I don't know yet. So we'll see. And that's a cutting, a tomato cutting. And that came from here. This tomato did not make it through the winter. And so I had took a cutting from it, stuck it over there, and it grew. So I'll plant something else. That is what killed one of my tomatoes. The pot stopped draining. I made a big hole on the side. Tree roots got in there and it blocked it, and I didn't know. And that is another subject I want to talk about another time. And the mockingbirds chasing each other around there. This has been like so alive this morning. I'm waiting to see if a bobcat goes by. Probably won't. Anyways, this all needs to be taken out. Just radish that went to seed and all that. Look at the flowers. Just gorgeous. And then, of course, that's a bottle brush that Gary had a seedling out front. We have a big weeping bottle brush, and he put a seedling here a few years ago. And look how big it is. Isn't that beautiful? And my rosemary. I don't even talk about my rosemary a lot because I just bought it as a bush. But it's beautiful. Okay, let's keep going. And then the papayas. Look at the lizard running across. Oh, a bunch of lizards. Walk out here, and they're all over. Hold on. Okay, I had to stop and look at all the birds. The place is covered with so many species of birds. And the lizards, that pumping action they're doing, they're actually doing that for me. Not for me, as far as entertaining me, to scare me off and let me know that they're in charge. And they are in charge. We leave them alone, and they do their job by eating ants and different things in the garden. And I just enjoy watching them, and they're everywhere. We have thousands of lizards. The papayas made it through the winter, as you could see, beautiful, and they're coming back. This one too, full of papayas. More rosemary back there. Pomegranates are starting, well, at least the plant is coming back all full of leaves. And this one, as sad as it looks, the papayas made it through. We'll get the rest of the leaves off, or it will fall off naturally, and this is going to take off. This will end up being big, beautiful leaves very, very soon, because our nights now are not dropping under 50, and that's what it needs. That one, again, the pot has no bottom, so that tree is going to take off. I see growth starting on that. And here, with the two little orange trees, I realized they can't leave because the holes are not on the bottom. I may transplant those little orange trees just to see what they do, but I lifted the pot and realized, no, I can't set root in there because the holes, as you can see, are above, so they can't leave their roots. And that's okay. I'm going to figure out where I want to put them. I may want to save some of my orange trees, since, long story short, you can't buy orange trees right now out here, or it's very difficult. Celery, but this I'm going to redo. I've got so many ideas. It's like my mind just is going and going and going. Okay, let's walk over to the wall real quick. So there's the bathtub that Gary brought me home, and we're filling that up. It's pretty full, and I'm probably going to throw zucchini in there. I would rather grow, I think, this year more true plants than hybrid plants. I'm thinking, because the ones that made it through the winter really well 2 years ago were the pure zucchini plants. Now the hybrids that grow in my yard, the seeds I collected, they do really good. They grow real vigorously. But I think I'm going to do more zucchini this year, since I use it for everything. I use it to make breads. I use it to make cakes. We eat it just the way it is. I use it for just so many things. The dogs love it. Just cut up, put in a frying pan, teeny bit of butter and a little salt and pepper, and wow, it's so good to saute it. That is, again, the Swiss chard. That plant's probably over 2 years old. I need to redo all this. This tomato plant did make it through the winter. It struggled through, but it made it through. Look at all the tomatoes. We have had tomatoes all winter. The whole bottom is celery. Celery here grows like a weed. There's some walking onions in that container over there, and again, Swiss chard, which comes up from seed everywhere. But look at the moringa. It is coming back. Look at that. So I'm going to have a lot of moringa seeds, not seeds. I'm going to have a lot of moringa leaves soon. And then later on in the year, we'll have the pods. But look at it. It's coming through here, which is interesting. So it lost a lot of its, the branches, but it's creating new branches, and that's good to know. So that's what this is doing, and I'll see what happens with the other tree in my garden. I do want to plant more moringa. Here's an eggplant that came up. I believe this one came up from seed, kind of white and purple. It hung in there all winter, and again, more Swiss chard. And sow thistle everywhere. We don't pull it. I use it in our green drinks. I use it if I make eggs with greens. Use it in stir fry. But the thing is, the birds love it. The goldfinches, this is a big part of their diet, and they eat the seeds off the sow thistle. And the hummingbirds have been collecting here, let me show you what they've been collecting. And I don't think I have any footage on it, but they collect this and they line their nests with it. Let me see if you see that. It's like cotton. See, it's like cotton, and they line their nest with it. And it makes their nest nice and soft. Here, put it back on top. I don't know if it's going to stay there. It's basically designed so what happens is it will blow in the wind like a little parachute, and then it will just drift off. And wherever it lands and it gets a little bit of water, it grows. And that's why they have the fuzz on there, so they can drift off and grow everywhere all over. And it's edible, so we don't really care if it grows or not. We like it. And then Gary's working back here. He's going to plant all kinds of trees. And now we're coming to the end of the garden tour. We are now at the truck bed. Yes, The avocado tree is still here. The reason it's still here, and I'm going to tell you the truth, I really don't want it because I really want to get something else going in here, and I haven't done anything. All this is basically now growing wild. But here's the problem. It's all edible. We have radishes that went to seed. Should chop that down. All of them. I don't care about the bottom. That's not in my way. But that's good shelter for a rabbit or a squirrel to hide under. But the one in there, I should chop it down and compost it. I did put a tub there. I want to grow in there. We have 3 types of Swiss chard in here. We've got like the red vein. It's got red stalks and green leaves. Really beautiful. Then, of course, we've got the ones that grow really, really red. So deep red, all leaves and all. And then I've got back here the one that's solid green. So I haven't really decided what I'm going to do. And the reason I have left the avocado tree is because of this. I don't know if the flowers will set. So we might as well all wait and see what happens with the flowers now. We'll know in the next month or so if the flowers have set fruit or if they're just going to fall off. And if it just falls off, well, then the tree may get dropped. I'm not grafting right now. We've got quite a few avocado trees on the property, so grafting, I have so many other things I can do in here to make food for us right now. And you can buy a tree that's true to what you want to grow. So I'm just not sure. Because here, this was amazing. We had spaghetti squash growing in here quite a few years ago. And it just, I'll have to do a different video on that so I can get into details exactly what happened with it step by step. But it's going to take a lot of nutrients out of whatever I want to grow in here. So if I wanted to grow squash, the avocado tree, which cannot leave because it's shallow, the truck bed, it cannot leave the roots. So it's going to have to feed off of everything else. And I don't know how this is going to work. Yes, it's like growing an avocado tree in a flower pot, just an oversized flower pot. So we'll see. We're not doing anything. No plans right now. If it sets fruit, and if the fruit is edible, then we'll go ahead and I will leave it and feed this tree. But if it's not, then the tree's going to go, and I want to get squash and different things growing in here. So that's it. Oh, look at the beautiful butterfly. Don't know if you can see it. Yellow tiger swallowtail. Spring is so here, and I am so happy for that. And the scrub jay. Why is the scrub jay screaming at me? Because he doesn't have peanuts in his bowl. Hear that? He actually has stuff in his mouth. He's building a nest. He or she, look at that. It's hard to hold the camera steady. Isn't that cool? What a treat this morning. I just can't believe with all the animals and wildlife and nature in the garden this morning. And the scrub jays, oh, they chase me around the house now because I started giving them peanuts and shelled peanuts, and they love it. And they'll literally come to the kitchen window and look in now. And you know what? 6 months ago, if they saw us, they leave. They're becoming so tame. So I'm glad you got to come with me today because unbelievable. I mean, look how Gary leaves all the trees for the animals to come. This has been an unbelievable morning with the coyote going through the Amazons and all the different birds and the rabbits that were doing whatever, probably courting. Just so cool. And I know that lurking through here could be a deer because the deer do come through here too. Not Gary's favorite since he was so excited. A couple years ago he had those apples and 40 apples disappeared in one night. The deer pulled them off. That was before I was doing my stuff to help him out. Now I have ways that I think we could solve that problem. So with that, have a wonderful April Fool's Day. And this was no April Fool's, you know. I may have done a little funny thing in the beginning, but this has been real with all the animals. I couldn't be more pleased, and I'm so happy I decided to come out and do it early when it was quiet. So with that, have a wonderful April Fool's Day. Have a great day. See you in 2 weeks on another garden tour, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody.